What's up everyone, welcome back to a new video. In today's video we are comparing the two most popular AI coding tools, Claude Code and ChatGPT Codex. If I do my job right, after watching this video you should have a better understanding of what the differences are between ChatGPT Codex and Claude Code. Now we will compare all the features between the two tools, we will compare the pricing plans, and then we will go ahead and install both the CLI versions and the VSCode extensions of both tools on a macOS system. I will also provide additional instructions on how to install it on Windows using WSL2. In the description below there will be a blog post to my site cosec.com where you can look that up. And then as a final challenge, we will actually go ahead and let both tools build a real-time weather dashboard. So we will have one CLI window open with Codex and one with Claude Code. We will fire the exact same prompt at the same time and see which tool comes up with a better result. And if we do the same thing with the VS Code extensions of both tools, and we will compare these as well. So we have a pretty good understanding at the end of this video of which tool was faster, which tool produced a better outcome. That's actually you who is to judge about that. But it should give us a pretty good view of the current state of both of those services. Now, you have to take this video with a little grain of salt because, as you know, the development of both of those tools is moving very, very fast, and both companies pushing updates on a daily basis. The VS Code extensions get updated almost daily. It's moving very fast, so your experience a week from now might differ vastly from my experience today. So take it with a grain of salt, take it as a general guideline of what you're working with, what you like better, maybe you like an UI better, and so on and so forth. But we will cover all of that in this video. And with that out of the way, let's dive right in and get to work. So without making this video too confusing and diving into all of the features, we rather compare how the two pricing plans compare with each other because they are pretty similar. So if you want to learn more about all of the features of the different tools, you can head to chatgpt.com and then you can go on features and you can spend entire days reading all of the different features that you get with your Plus subscription. But it will make the video too complex and probably too boring as well. So we just compare the two pricing plans and the features that are actually important for the context of this video, which are the code or CLI coding related features that we get and not the chat stuff and all of that. And the same is here for Claude Code. You can go to solutions and learn as much as you want about all of that. So the two plans are pretty similarly priced. I think this is the annual subscription because if you that's where it is. If you bill it monthly, then it's $20. So they are pretty same. If you have a business and you have a VAT number, this price goes down to 20 euros. And I think this will also add tax, then it's like $20 if you don't have a license and so on and so forth. So I think the ChatGPT version is like $1 or $2 more expensive than Claude. I might be wrong on that with the conversion rates, I'm not sure. Either way, they are pretty similarly priced. The features that you get and the features that are important to us, of course, in the Pro and in the Plus plan here are the access to Claude Code directly in your terminal on the Claude side and the access to the research preview of the Codex agent and of course of Codex itself. So then you have limits apply, and if you click on it, you would just be able to read that, usage limits might vary between different times of the day and how much the API and the service is used. The same goes for Claude. It's not very transparent how much the limit actually is, but on Claude Code, I think the limit resets every 5 or 7 hours, I'm not sure. Or to fixed times during the day. So if you run out with your usage, then you have to just wait until you get to this time frame that the time goes over and you basically get more usage. And I think the same is maybe true for ChatGPT Codex. I haven't figured that out yet, how they handle that, but maybe we'll figure that out during the video. So I think whatever tool you choose, maybe you can make your mind up at the end of this video, which you like better. I hope we can find that out along the way. So I think that's it for the features. For now, as I said, there's so many features that you have with both of them that would be out of the context of this video. I think it's better you look that up on your own and we get to write some code or write some prompts to not make it too boring. Maybe one more side note on that end. I think in the Pro version of Claude, you have only access to Claude Sonnet 4.5 in the Claude Code CLI. However, in the chat application of Claude, which is the desktop app like ChatGPT, you do have a limited amount of Opus 4 available, but that will eat up your tokens very quickly, so be aware of that. And for the ChatGPT side, I think we only have access to Codex, to certain versions of Codex, but we will check that out in a minute when we install the tools. Thankfully, it's really easy to install either of these tools. You can use Homebrew or NPM. Probably most of you will have both installed if you watch this video, but the easiest is probably Homebrew. If you don't have Homebrew installed, head over to Google and just search how to install Homebrew on macOS. And then for Claude Code, it would be brew install -- cask, and then you do Claude Code. And I have it already installed, so I'm not going to do it again now. You just hit enter, it will install the package. And once you have that done, you can just type Claude in your terminal and this will open up the Claude CLI, or at least it should. Now, if you have a new folder where you launch Claude for the first time, it always will ask you, do you trust the files in this folder? Claude Code may read, write, or execute files contained in this directory. This can pose security risks, so only use files from trusted sources. Now, as you will see in a second, this is very different from what Codex will do and ask you when you launch it first time in an empty folder. So this is really interesting to note, but of course, if you want to use it, then you have to click yes, proceed. It's a normal question from Claude Code. You always have to click yes, proceed. And then we are inside of Claude Code. And now let's also directly install Codex. So you do /exit. And then for Codex, it's pretty much the same. You just do brew, install Codex. I already installed it as well. And once the installation is done, you can start it by typing, well, you guessed that right, probably, Codex. And now this is where the difference comes in. So here is it saying, it lists you the folder, you are running Codex in blah, blah, blah. And then since this folder is not version controlled, which means there is no initiated GitHub repository in there, it says, we recommend requiring approval of all edits and commands. Now, this is different from Claude Code. And here you can choose require approval of edits and commands, probably recommended for beginners, or you can go and say, allow Codex to work in this folder and all subfolders, I would assume, without asking for approval. And since this folder is empty and it serves only for our test projects and testing the comparing both tools, I'm going to choose number 1. If you are unsure, definitely go for this, especially if you use it in some important project. Until you get the hang of it, I would probably recommend choosing the second option. But this is, I think, pretty similar to what you can configure in Claude Code with dangerously skip permission. That's what a lot of people use. That basically allows Claude to do whatever without asking any permission. But I think it's not folder based, it's on your whole computer. So I don't know many people who do it. I just know people who do it in sandboxes where nothing can get destroyed on the operating system. And anyway, let's choose this for now. And then we are inside OpenAI Codex and we have both tools installed successfully. Now again, if you want to learn how to install that on Windows, I think you need WSL2 if you don't want to use the VSCode extensions. Of course, the VSCode extensions are the easiest way to go in that matter. So if you are on Windows and, well, you want to only use the VSCode extensions, then you can just install them from the VSCode extensions library. I will show that to you in a second. Or if you want to install it, or if you want to install the CLI versions, you have to have, as far as I know, WSL2, and I will provide the instructions for that in the link in the description. Okay, now we have both tools installed and I have opened them up next to each other. Now, of course, if you started for the first time, you have to log in either with your Claude account or with your ChatGPT account. That should be pretty straightforward. There is no reason to show that because API tokens will be exposed and I don't want to blur stuff out, so I saved that step for you guys to figure out on your own, which should be really easy. Anyway, we can see that we have well, kind of similar, but also different UIs here. The biggest difference is here that OpenAI Codex is on version 0.46 and Claude is already at version 2. So Claude Code is existing much longer than Codex. So bear that in mind. Directly we can see that here is a window that shows us how much context is left for our current context. And we have a bunch of commands to choose from. Probably there are much more if we do /. As I said, for me, this is the first time using Codex as well. So we can scroll through here. Let's quickly compare these. So we have a model. Of course, that's choosing the model that we want to use. We have a look at that in a sec. Approvals, that means choose what Codex can do without approval. That's very interesting. Review, we also have that over at Claude. So that reviews the current changes that you have made and tries to find issues. With new, we can start a new chat during a conversation, probably having... Maybe we can still revert back to the old chat. I'm not sure how that works here. Init, that's what you usually run. First, if you start working in a new code base, that's the same for Claude. You would run /init that creates either a agents.md file on the Codex side or a claude.md file on the Claude side, which basically will look through your entire code base, write everything together that it can gather of the details of the code and try to understand the application and put it in this file for later reference when you use the tool again, that it already has some instructions ready. So next is compact. This is also similar to Claude. This compacts your conversation to prevent hitting the context limit. Very useful to use throughout a longer chat session. Diff is showing the Git differences. Mention is mentioning a file. And status is show current session configuration and token usage. I'm not going to do that right now because it exposes my credentials as well and my email address, etc. So I'm not going to do that. You can try it yourself, but basically what you see there is how much of your tokens you have already used. And then you can also have a look at MCP to list the configured MCP tools or configure new ones, I would assume, and we can log out and quit. So that's it on the Codex side. And for Claude, it looks pretty similar. You type / or you type ? Then you get additional stuff that you can work with. So for example, some new line stuff, or you can make your prompt longer and stuff like this. Anyway, / you have a bunch of more commands here. I'm not going to go through all of them right now because it would be too long for this video. Basically, we can add directories, we can manage agents, we can manage background tasks, we can clear, that clears the conversation and frees up context. So you will lose the context of your current conversation if you use clear rather than new. Then we have compact, same as on the left side, that we can compact our current conversation but keep the summary of the history of the conversation. We can change the theme. I haven't used that. We can visualize the current context usage as a colored grid, which is cool. We can show the cost of the current session, which does not apply for the Pro plan, only if you have API usage. Then we have the doctor command that checks if your Claude Code installation is still good and healthy. And we can, of course, exit. We can export. We can give feedback. We can use help. We can use hooks. That's more advanced. We're not going to go into that in this video. We can manage the IDE integrations. That's very interesting because you can integrate it with VSCode as well, which basically, I think, installs the VSCode extension then. That's what it does. But it can also open files and so on and so forth. Same as on the left side, init for a new code base. Install GitHub app. So you can see there is a bunch more things going on here. Of course, MCP server stuff. We can also choose the model here. We can choose the output style. There's so many things. I'm just looking through. We even have a PR comments, so we can get the comments from a pull request. So there are lots of predefined commands here that are not available on the left side yet, probably. We can rewind, which is interesting because it goes back to the last checkpoint, so probably to the previous prompt. And we can do a security review status, which is the version, model, account, API, blah, blah, blah. All this kind of stuff. You can list the current to-do items. You can upgrade the plan in here, and you can show the plan usage limits, which is interesting. I think this is pretty new as well. And you can toggle between Vim and normal editing modes. Now, the most interesting part for us right now is probably to choose the model. And as I said before, we cannot use Opus on Claude Code on the $20 plan. We would have to upgrade to Max to use Opus 4.1. So we only have one model available on this end. And if you compare it with the Codex side of things, if we open the model context here, then we can choose between GPT-5 Codex, which is the current one, optimized for coding tasks with many tools, or GPT-5, which is more probably like for chatting and planning reasons. I don't know yet. We're about to find that out. And if I hit Codex, we can choose between low, medium, and high. So I would assume that high will consume the most tokens. And yeah, this is dynamically just reasoning based on the task. And this is the fastest, so this will be like mini, most likely, and I don't know, this will be pro or whatever. So for this task, I would actually, to have a fair comparison, because, well, we have the high available on the Codex side, we're going to use the high for our challenge as well, I would say. Okay, it's just too interesting to not show you. I will blur things out if I need to, but actually there's just a session ID in my email that's public anyway, doesn't matter. Those are the status, basically on the left is the status window, and on the right is the usage window. And I'm seeing that the first time too. I haven't looked into that. And this actually shows you really clearly. It doesn't show you how much tokens you have left. It shows you how much your current session you have already used up. So I have 34% used of my current session, which resets in about an hour and a half. So I'm pretty good on that. But also, there is a weekly limit now on Claude Code, which is very important to know because, well, I have almost 70% used of my weekly limit and it resets at 8 a.m., but I don't know which day actually. And for Opus, that's 36% and it resets at 10 a.m. So I'm not sure what the current week limit actually means and when it does it reset on Monday? I have used it extensively the past 2 days, so I might hit a weekly limit for the first time this time. I don't know. I just wanted to show you that. Whereas on the Codex side, you basically just have a context window, 100% left. Okay, that's the current context. So we have 272,000 tokens for this context window. And then, well, limits, there's nothing. Send a message to load usage data. So we have to check that again in a second when we have actually done something. As you can see, I haven't done anything with it. So we're going to have a look after we try to code our challenge project. And then we see how much or how the limits look on that end. Okay, I was curious, so I just checked. I leave the link in the video description so you can check that up if you want to. But this is for Claude Code, so there is something written about the limits. It says on the Pro plan, so the $20 a month plan, that users can send approximately 45 messages with Claude Code every 5 hours or send approximately 10 to 40 prompts with Claude Code every 5 hours. So the reset window is set to 5 hours. And most Pro users can expect 40 to 80 hours of Sonnet 4 within their weekly usage limit. Now, what does that mean, 40 to 80 hours? Because you're definitely not gonna sit there and send prompts for 80 hours and still have or still are within your weekly usage limit. It says here this will vary based on factors such as code base size. Of course it does. So you can basically run into your weekly limit quite fast, and there's nothing written when it's actually going to reset. So I still have to figure that out, whatever that 8 a.m. means. But I'll dive deeper in it, and if I can figure it out during the research of this video, I'm going to put it in the comments or in the description of the video. All right, I think before we start the challenge, let's also get our VS Code set up with the respective extensions so we have everything ready and we can just compare the challenges with each other. On the left side, you see the Codex window, and on the right side is the Claude Code window. So you just go to your extensions tab and you search for Codex and you install the official Codex extension. Then you need to log in. And then you have it ready. So I'm going to close that. We are inside an empty folder again here on the VS Code side. And on the right side as well, you just install it, log in, and then we are in an empty folder as well. I'm going to close that. And then you can already see that we don't see anything because the buttons just disappeared because we don't have a file open. So we need to kind of open a file. This is a problem because the buttons disappear, right? So I'm gonna do file here, test text, and once I have that open, the buttons appear. So just in case you're wondering, the buttons are missing. It's because there is no single file in the entire context, and the same goes for the Claude window. So we do test text, empty text file, and then we have access to the button. So left side is Codex, and if you open Codex, it opens on the left side of the VSCode window, and if you open Claude, it opens on the right side. So well, they get that going for them. Probably they did it because you can go full bore and open both windows at the same time and chat with two agents or two different tools at the same time. I don't know why they did it that way. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That's just how you open it. And right away you can see, well, this is a bit more, yeah, it's a bit more simple. It doesn't have the nice Claude logo compared to that, if that holds any value to you. But it basically does the same thing. It's a chat window. It looks very much like Copilot, and this is how it looks like. So in Claude Code, you have access to the past conversations tab, which will allow you to switch between past conversations that you haven't deleted. Very simple to understand. You can click on the plus to create a new chat. Then you can, of course, go into the chat window and tell it what to do. On the Codex side, you also, as it seems like, you have a task history. So we see, I don't know if this has some examples. Remove this drag bar. No, that's something what I actually tested, it seems like. So this is the history, not only of this project, but of all projects, it seems like. Maybe I can go to local tasks. No. So this has everything what I ever typed into it. I tried to use this extension 2 days ago, but I did not have a Codex subscription yet, so it didn't work. Just wanted to check what the extension does. But basically the same thing, right? You have a settings tab here. If you hit that, you can probably change some stuff. You can read the docs, you can open config, you can change some IDE settings. So all a little bit on over the top for now, but seems like we can do some stuff here in the config toml. And then we can create a new chat, and as we already seen, check all chats here. Then we have auto context, so include recent files and other context, so we can drag and drop files here. We can add images as expected, same as possible for Claude Code, of course. And we can set it to local or cloud. We see our rate limits, it seems like. There we go. There are also 5-hour limits, so we are 0% from that, and it resets at 1745. And we have the weekly limits here, so it's resets on 22nd of October. So there are weekly limits too. There we go. Okay, so we can see it right away. Good. Then we can switch between agent with full access, or chat mode, which is probably the require approval mode. There we go. And we can choose between the different models here. We can even choose GPT-5 minimal, low, medium, high, or the Codex models. All right, the same here over at Claude Code. If you have never used that, you can switch between ask before edits, edit automatically, or plan mode. Now, this is not a full Claude Code tutorial, but I go into that in other videos. So if you're interested in that, check out some of my other videos on the channel. I'm pretty much using plan mode for almost everything I do, because it gives me the chance to reread what Claude comes up with and then optimize it before I let it execute it. But overall, it all looks pretty similar, and I think we are ready to get started with our challenge. All right, so we have our one prompt challenge here, and it's probably pretty hard to read, but you'll see it better in a second. So what we wanted to do is we do a one-shot prompt challenge, and we do the challenge both on the CLI and as well on the VSCode plugin side, and then we compare the results of both and see how they differ, and also see how much longer the one takes over the other, and so on and so forth. And of course we compare Claude Code with Codex. So what we want to do is we just drop in a prompt that says build a real-time weather dashboard web app with the following requirements. First, clean modern UI with dark mode support. Second, search for any city and display current temperature, weather conditions with appropriate icon, 5-day forecast, wind speed and humidity. Then third, use a weather API, open weather map or similar. 4th, responsive design, mobile plus desktop. 5, error handling for invalid cities. 6, loading states during API calls. That's very important, and I'm excited to see how it handles that with a one-shot prompt. And then 7, save last search city in local storage, and also include a simple README with setup instructions. And as for the tech stack, we simply tell it HTML, CSS, JavaScript, vanilla or React. It's your choice. I think this is a pretty solid prompt that Claude as well as Codex should be able to do. We probably will need some API key of some sort to get that working, but we'll see that later if it asks us for the API key or how it handles it. Maybe there is something public where you don't need an API key. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay, so I think we drop in the prompts and then we see what's going to happen next. Okay, let's get started. So we have the empty folder here on the left with Codex. So we start Codex inside of this folder. And I will specifically say allow Codex to work in this folder without asking for approval to make things as open for it as possible. And on the right hand side, we are going to open Claude and do nothing right now. So on the left side, we go with the model. So we make sure that we are on the right model. So it's GPT-5. Okay, it kept that what I said before, so it's still on high. All right, and then we drop in the prompt on the left side, and then we go with Claude Code. Now, for Claude Code, I will probably use the plan mode to make it fairer, I guess, because it's simply a tool that you have, and it's a tool that we should use, so we will see how that goes. Let's see, the thinking mode is on, so you can tap that on and off or toggle that on and off with the tab key. You can see it right here, so I leave that on as well. And then I hit Shift Tab to switch between those modes, and I want to go into the plan mode. And yeah, I think this is fair. You tell me in the comments if you want to see it differently, but I think plan mode is fair. And I would do one thing. I would just start with Claude Code plan mode and hit enter and let it plan out the thing. And then I would start both things at the same time once the planning is done, because then they actually start to code. Now nothing will be done, no code will be written. Claude is just going through the planning phase for the prompt that we gave it, and it will come up with a, plan, and then it will execute that plan once we approve it. So we let that finish, and then we actually hit enter on both of those windows and see what those tools come up with. All right, planning mode has been finished. I'm not going to even read. Let's fly over it. So it says create a HTML structure, start with CSS, implement weather API service. So it's using or intend to use the open weather map API, build a main app logic, add local storage utilities, and write README. Tech is HTML, CSS, vanilla JavaScript, and it doesn't even use React. Okay, so I would say we hit go on both of them kind of at the same time, and then we see what happens. So here I say also yes and accept auto edits, which basically shouldn't prompt me for anything. And by the way, here it says the open weather map free tier provides 1,000 API calls per day. So that's definitely way enough for what we're trying to do here. Okay, so I hit enter in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. All right, both of the tools are working, and I'm just gonna let that run here and that you can see the process. I don't want to skip ahead because I want you to see what both things are doing at the same time. So I think that's pretty interesting. In my experience, at least, when I have used the VSCode it's not the VSCode extension for Codex. It was using Codex via Copilot. And that's probably a bit restricted, and that took much longer than the Claude Code VSCode extension. I know it's a little bit confusing. So I'm wondering if on the left side, on Codex, in the CLI, it will be faster than using it via Copilot. As you can see, the tools look pretty similar. They go through a plan. So this is actually, on the left side, it seems like Codex is creating the plan right now. Or it has created a plan, I don't know. And now it seems like it's already kind of integrating the plan. And it's even telling us what it's thinking, which is interesting. Now some of the HTML files as output. We can see Claude Code is already at the styling. I'm really excited to see what the final result will be and how much both of them will take. So on the left side, we are 1 minute and 35 seconds in. And also, will they work? We don't know yet. We have no idea. If it can get it to run with a one-shot prompt, maybe one can, maybe the other can't. We'll see. All right, it's doing the styling on the left side now as well. Right side is already the implementation of the weather API service. So I have to sign up for a key in a second there. It will be set by the user. Okay, it will probably tell us in the end to set the API key. I just like to watch that sometimes, especially with those one-shot experiments. It's really exciting because you see at the end, you can basically prompt it to do anything you want. And at the end, you get presented with something that you have never seen before, obviously. And it's always exciting. And I always look forward to seeing the result. It's kind of like shooting analog camera, where you shoot a film maybe over a couple of months. And at the end, you have no idea what you have shot. And then you go to develop the film. And you are definitely always going to be surprised by some things and like being remembered where you have been. Kind of similar thing. So I really enjoy that. Now it's setting up the event listeners on the left. And again, it's telling us what it's thinking about. And there would even be the option to use the Chrome DevTools MCP server, which would allow both tools to basically open up a browser window and, in quotes, look at the result, what it's building, and test some stuff and click around. But I will cover that in another video. I thought about it and I thought it's a little bit too over the top for what I have in mind with this video, which is like more of a basic comparison and not an in-depth video. So if you're interested in seeing that Chrome DevTools video, let me know please in the comments. So it seems like Claude Code is finished first. And on the left side, it's confirming syntax correctness. Interesting, but it's also almost finished. So I'm not sure if there is a time somewhere where we can see how long it took, but obviously for now Codex is taking a little bit longer. It's no time written there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can obviously see that Claude is taking longer, but it's already at documenting stuff. So, well, it's basically finished with the coding, but Claude Code was a little bit faster. Although I have the feeling that Codex will be more thorough. And it's updating the plan again. So it's still not done. Now it's actually reading and probably checking the files once more before it's presenting us with a final result. And I hope this doesn't get too boring, but I don't wanna just skip ahead, because I think it's important to also show the process in comparison with each other. That was the whole point of the video. And we can already see in the lower left corner, even we just fletched out a complete project. We still have 98% of context left because of this 257K size context window. So that's pretty impressive. And it seems like it's still doing some adjustments on the code there. I'm not sure why it's requesting the line numbers of the README file and stuff like that. But we'll see. Okay, there we go. All right, so worked for 5 minutes. So I would say it took about 2 minutes longer than Claude Code, most likely. And it gave us a summary of what it built. And of course, Claude Code did the same. So on the Claude Code side, it said, perfect, your weather dashboard web app is now complete. Here's what I've built. So it built a simple project structure, the main HTML file, the entry point, CSS folder with the style CSS. So we have one file, then we have the app.js, the application logic. We have the weather API.js handled in an extra file, and we have storage for the local storage utilities. Okay, key features, I won't bore you with them. I rather look at that in a second. And here it says basically the same, like an overview, built a skycast weather dashboard that searches any city, shows current conditions, and renders a 5-day forecast with dark mode styling. So we also have an index HTML, we have style CSS, we have a script file. Interesting. And it integrates here the Open Meteo geocoding forecast APIs. Okay. That's interesting. So it has another API, which means I have to sign up for 2 API keys. Great. And we have a README. So the next step is serve the site locally. Interesting. Okay. To confirm API calls succeed from your network. Okay, great. So I'm going to sign up for the API keys, I guess. And I have to say, at first glance, I like this instruction much better. It provided a quick start, which is very easy. It's a step-by-step quick start on how to run it. So this is also with Python, seems like. So it's intending that we use the Python HTTP server to serve the app, but we probably can do that right out of VS Code anyway. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll do that, and then we check the results. Okay, so I have both things running. First I asked it to change to openweathermap.org so that I don't have to sign up for 2 API keys. But then I canceled it because I realized maybe I don't even need an API key for the integration that Codex did. And lo and behold, it seems like it didn't. So I have the result here from Codex. Let's see, put it on the left side. So this is the Codex result right here. And out of the box, it looks really, really nice, I have to say. And it seems like we don't need a API key. It somehow chooses a free API key. And I can change between cities, and this data seems pretty accurate. It's a nice dashboard. We even have some clouds here. We have a 5-day forecast. We have when it was last updated. We have the wind, we have humidity, we have a nice sign here, and we can do, like, let's say New York. So for New York, it's 12 degrees, it's overcast. Very nice, well, weather dashboard, I think. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to enter an API key. I didn't have to do nothing. I just started the server and it was running. Now, of course, it's interesting to see if it's actually using the local storage. And if we open that, we can see that it's using the last searched for city as intended, which is New York. So I would say challenge successful, and we can even see it scaling down nicely on mobile. So this is a one shot. I didn't do anything. It looks pretty awesome. I think it's cool. And let's look at what Claude has produced next. So I'm gonna start the HTTP server on the Claude side as well. And I'm gonna open that up. Just give me a second. There it is. Okay, so right away it's prompting us for a API key, and I have copied that API key already, and I'm going to, oops, that was the wrong one. I'm gonna paste that API key in there. Okay, API key is required. It just somehow closed the window. So I add the API key, and then I enter a city, and we're getting an error. So right away, I can see that something did not work here as intended, probably. So it didn't work right out of the box. I did one thing though. I went in VS Code and added the API key on the Claude side, and maybe that was an issue. So let's try that. Maybe it's injecting it somehow. I'll bring VS Code here really quickly. So I added the API key here, but maybe it doesn't even need that. But it says replace with your open weather map API key, so it should work, but it doesn't. Okay, so we have one problem. We already need to tell Claude it doesn't work. We have an invalid API key, and it's not invalid because I have it open on my right side, and it's definitely correct, and it's active. So I don't know what it is. I'll try one thing because it says I need to confirm my email, but I don't think that has anything to do with the API key because I already have access and they are labeled as active. But anyway, let's just to be sure not to give Claude a bad rep because I didn't confirm my email. Okay. I also make sure to paste that API key in here again into VSCode. Put it over here that you can see it. Okay. Save. Looks good, I would say. All right. And then we start the server again. So now it shouldn't even ask me for the API key, by the way, because it has an API key, but yet it does it again. Okay, I'm going to paste it again. Let's try. Okay, it's clearly not working. So we need to go back to Claude and tell it what's not working. So I click on search and then nothing happens because the API key apparently is invalid. So I'm making a screenshot here and I'm going to feed it to Claude. There is an issue with the API key, it seems. And I just paste the screenshot, which usually works. Odd that it didn't right now, but let's try it again. Let's go back. That's weird. Usually I was able to add screenshots. Maybe that only worked in the VSCode extensions though. It says invalid API key, even the key is valid. Here is the key. Let's give it the key. Maybe it can figure something out. I also find it odd to enter the API key in a prompt. That's a weird way because every time we refresh, well, it said it would store it in local storage, but anyway, that's not a good way to handle that, I would say. Let's give it one more chance. So I would say already we have a clear winner, not only because this looks much better. I didn't have to sign up for an API key. It works with local storage. Everything is there, what we wanted, versus this. I mean, you can make up your own mind, but for me, that looks pretty bad so far. Okay, it says remove the prompt, blah, blah, blah. The API key is in there. Okay, let's hit it. Let's hit it again and give it another chance to redeem itself. All right, no warning, the server is still running. And we have an invalid API key again. Okay, great. At least the dark mode is working, so Claude got that going for it. Okay. Well, that's a shame. Although I would like to give it one more chance because I like Claude. I don't want it to be bad. So I'm gonna do the following and I'm going to tell it still not working. Dump open weather and use open Meteo instead because that's worked on the left side. So let's see if Claude can get it to work on the right side as well. I mean, there might be an issue with the open weather map API, but I tried several API keys now and it still did not work. So I'm not very confident that we'll get it to work at some point. So let's see if it can get it to work with using Open Meteo instead. I mean, obviously this is taking up much more tokens now as well on the right side because we have to go through multiple prompts. It has to change a lot of stuff on the code. So the left side, in my opinion, for now, is the clear winner. What I haven't checked yet though, if there is a dark mode, and I cannot see a dark mode button on the left side because that was one requirement. That is, well, Claude got that going for it at least. But here, I'm not sure if I'm blind, but I cannot see a dark mode button. So, well, that's one thing that Codex has missed. Okay. It should finally get ready. And it says it's finished. So let's hit that again. Okay. It looks pretty much the same. Instead, the only difference is that it's now powered by OpenMeteo on the bottom. And now let's enter Munich. Okay, there we go. So this looks pretty much same, or almost same like on the left side. It also added the pressure. So maybe there was an issue with the key, who knows. So we have like, the outcome is pretty similar on both ends, I would say, just with the difference that we had to use 2 additional prompts and needed to do some troubleshooting on the Claude side. And it seems like it's a little bit faster. No, it's not actually, it's same. Yeah, I don't know. Make up your mind what you like better design-wise. I tend to the left side. It's a little bit cleaner. I don't know. Kind of tend to the left side. As I said, there is no dark mode, so that would require an additional prompt too, so take that in mind. And now let's finally check for the local storage, if it got that going for it. And we have weather last city, New York. Okay, it also got that challenge. So you can make up your mind what you like better. Leave a comment below what you like better and why. I'm very interested in learning that. And now next we are going to continue with the VSCode extension challenge and see how it performs there. Although I would do a slight modification and I would tell it right away to use this OpenMeteo API rather than the other one, so we don't run in potential API key issues again. All right, let's do it. So I'm interested in seeing the differences between the CLI version and the VSCode plugin version of the two tools and how they compare, how it's in terms of time, how long it needs compared to the CLI version. We have a pretty good comparison in the on the Codex side, because the first initial prompt took about 5 minutes and 40, I think it was. So we have a good comparison there. And we're going to use the same challenge prompt, although like I said, slightly modified. I added that it should take the OpenMeteo API, the free one. Let's see. It's still here. That's still the old one. Give me 1 second. I'll put the other one in there with the modified prompt. There we go. I put the OpenMeteo API in there. Yep, there it is. Otherwise, it's exactly the same prompt, and I'm going to do that here too. And on the Claude side, again, I will go on the plan mode, and then I will just hit it and wait for the plan to come up. And over here, we have the agent mode, but we are going to go to agent full access, which is a similar one that we have used in the CLI, I believe. So it's doing the plan here. And it has finished the plan. Seems to be pretty similar to the other one when I fly over it. But whatever, we don't care. We just want to see the result. So we click on yes and auto accept. And on the left side, we also fire the prompt approximately at the same time. Okay. So let's see what the process is here. It's first thinking about it, of course here also, but I guess here it's already on the right side, it's already starting to implement the plan because it already has a plan. Whereas on the left side, it's probably creating its plan now, as we have seen in the CLI version as well. It's checking the local files here. And I think it's pretty much going to go through the same steps. As you can see on the left side, it's now planning it. And if we extend this, we can actually see what it's thinking about. So this is, I think, a little bit like Gemini, whereas here it's just kind of loading in a loading state and you don't really see what it's thinking about unless it tells you what it's doing. So I think this is pretty cool. Now we have a little pop-up here that is like a task list kind of thing. And if we open that, we can see on which tasks it's currently working on. So props to Codex for that one. I like that better than on the Claude side. And now it's starting to create the files. So it's setting up the project structure and base files for the weather dashboard. So clear win for me on the left side here compared to Claude, where it's just like changing loading messages. And just now can we see on the Claude side that it updated its to-dos. Pretty much same as in the CLI version. But here, I think on the left side, it looks kind of more like Copilot. Don't know if that is a good or a bad thing. There's a button where you can click on to track all changes. And then you can actually scroll through a list of the files that it added, which is pretty cool because you can get directly a view on the open files that it's currently working on. So I also like that. Basically, you can do the same thing, right? You can do the same thing on the Claude side if you just open up the files that it has created and just look at them through the File Explorer on the left side if you want to do that. So here they just integrated it kind of. And it's probably more interesting if you actually have some changes made to existing code where you can here click to a show diff menu where you would see the differences it made. So yeah, it's quite nice. On the first glance, I like the left side a little bit better, I think. And also Claude is at times really slow nowadays. And I had actually a couple of issues in the past few days where it just stopped working and gave me a 404 API error out of whatever reason. Yeah, so I'm not very satisfied with Claude altogether in the past couple of weeks, I have to say. And that's also the reason why I do this video, because I'm interested in these things myself. And I will extensively use Codex in the next couple of days and weeks and really compare those two because I have both subscriptions at this moment. And I will use both. And I will see what comes out on top later. And I will maybe make another video with my thoughts if you're interested in that. So it seems like we are almost done with both sides. On the Claude end, it looks like it still has more to do than on the Codex side, but maybe Codex will go again and recheck all of the things it did, like it did in the CLI version. So Codex has finished. It's giving us the steps here. It's telling us what files have changed, and it took approximately exactly the same like it did in the CLI version. It took about 5 minutes and some seconds. I didn't have a stopwatch, but I looked at the clock, so it's a little bit over 5 minutes. It might have been even faster than on the CLI version, I have to say. And it said finish working. We built the skycast layout search, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much the same. Some style CSS files, and it implemented the city lookup with the OpenMeteor fetches. It added a README, and we can just open index.html in our browser to confirm API access and UI behavior. Then we also seen that files that it has changed here in an overview, which I really like. That's cool. So it seems like the VSCode integration of Codex is a little bit cleaner and thoughtful than the Claude one. I think so. Let me know what you guys think. And then we can just open index.html in our browser and have a look at that. So Claude is still doing things. I'm not sure if I have a server running there, but usually you can just open that up. Okay. Claude is in the verifying of the project structure phase. I mean, you can directly see that Claude takes longer, but we will see about the results. Okay, there we go. So Claude finished about 2 minutes later than Codex. It gives us an overview over the project structure again. Told us what to do. Let's see if Codex has a dark mode this time. In the CLI version it didn't. And it told us extensively what it did. And you can see you have links to the files here as well, so it's a little bit more simple. And well, let's give it a go and actually run both projects. So we do, on the left side, we open up the terminal and we do Python -m, Python 3 -m HTTP server on port 8000, and on the right side we do the same thing but on port 8001, and we already have an error. It says address already in use. Okay, that's maybe still running in the background, so I do 8003. Okay, so I open first the Codex version. Oh, okay, let's see. Doesn't look as good as it did in the CLI version. We do have a toggle button here. Actually, it looks pretty similar, but we just haven't searched for a city. So the toggle is there and looks cool and fluent. Okay, let's go. Munich. I'm pretty sure there was a predefined city in there in the CLI version when we first started it, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it works. It's looking up the data. Dark mode is working, looking quite good. This is a little bit cramped here. I don't really like it that much. The foggy signs are quite nice. Let's go with New York again. Okay, cloudy. I would like sunny, so probably daily, huh? Okay, mainly clear. Yeah, it looks clean. The clouds are a little bit cut off here, could be nicer. And everything, it seems to be super cramped. So there's distance missing in between here. Let's see what the mobile view says. If it's scaling down, yeah, also the distance is missing. Okay, so the result in the CLI version was better for the one shot, although now we have a dark mode. And local storage seems to be last cities. It even has Lisbon in there. That's probably from port 8000. But we have Delhi in here as last city, so it looks different. This was the CLI version because it has a minus in between, and this one is the VSCode extension version. And it also seems like it's saving the theme, last used theme. If you change that, you can see it's changing it. Okay, overall, I mean, for a one-shot prompt, it's not that bad. It looks pretty decent. I think it did a decent job, and with one more prompt and adding an image in here, it will fix all the remaining issues. So I think it's fine. It's fine. We can leave it as that. All right, let's look at what Claude did this time. Let's open it up. All right, weather dashboard, dark mode. Use Munich again. See there. That all works now. No API key issues. The fog sign here looks really crappy in my opinion, but whatever. Let's try daily. All right, sunny, this looks good. Seems to have a problem with the foggy display. I think it looks decent. Let's check the local storage. It got it. Dark theme, last used light theme. Okay, last city is Delhi. Hey, perfect. I think that looks great. And let's compare them both side by side as we did before without the console open here. Okay, you can make up your mind, guys. So overall now I think Claude did a better job. We have to give credit where credit is due. I think this looks better. It definitely is a better one-shot result because we would have to use another prompt here to fix that. So 1 point for Claude on this side. Everything is working. It looks clean. I like the colors a little bit better. There's some gradient going on there. So design-wise, this looks a little bit more modern. But again, there is the issue with the spacing. But on the other hand, here we have different colors for highs and lows. So this is a nice touch. And also the symbols, I think, look better, except for the fog symbol. That definitely looks much better on the Codex side. And there are some, on the other hand, some cutoffs here. Make up your mind. Let me know in the comments below which one you liked better. And I think this has concluded our test. So with the final results recorded now, what do you guys think? What do you like more? Which one do you like better? Do you like the CLI versions better? Do you like the VS Code versions better? Or do you like Codex or Claude Code better? I'm really torn between the two. I will have to do more extensive testing on Codex in the next couple of days and weeks. But I have a feeling that ChatGPT or OpenAI is catching up very fast to Claude. This is what I can definitely say. I like the VS Code extension of Codex much better now than the one of Claude, but I will probably go with the CLI version anyway. I just have a feeling I can move faster with it. But I will also use the VS Code extension, so I always use a mix of both. I will maybe get back to do another video in a couple of days or weeks where I will share my findings with you and what tool I ultimately like better. But then again, like I said, you have to take all of this with a grain of salt because things are moving so fast at this moment that day might be tomorrow Claude is better, the day after Codex is better again, and then somebody does a huge leap and brings some new technology and stuff. And of course, we haven't looked into all of the features. There are much more advanced features available as well on both of the tools, which you have to look into. Otherwise, this would be a course rather than a comparison video. Either way, I think this was an interesting experiment. I never have done anything like that. If you like that, make absolutely sure to hit the subscribe button, because this shows me that you guys are interested in my content. And we need to also crack those 40,000 subscribers finally, which shows me that you guys enjoy my content, and I will keep recording weekly videos for you guys. Also, let me know what other videos and topics you are interested in the comments. I will always try to find something that the most people are interested in learning and looking at. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope it was worthwhile for you, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Until then guys, see ya.